Hey YouTubers, well I got another video review for you guys. This one here is from a company called VOLTWORKS. This is their 2000 watt pure sine wave 12 volt power inverter, and I'm going to take you and show you all the features that this thing has to offer. And I gotta say, I just pulled it out of the box. I've not used this before, not tested it, literally just pulled it out of the box like 5 minutes ago. And so I gotta say, my first thoughts is it's a really good looking inverter. Very impressed with the fit and finish on it. And the inverter itself weighs right at 10 pounds. The case on this inverter is made out of steel. Here on the top, that's steel. And then here on the sides, that is steel. But then the rest of the inverter, like the sides right here and the bottom, is all aluminum. I gotta say, this inverter here has got a really stout bottom to it. Very good looking inverter. It has like a textured finish. We're going to start down here at the end, and you can see you've got your two cooling fans, one on each side, and then you've got your terminals. And I got to say, these look nice and stout. They're not wobbly and loose like on one of the inverters I tested a week or two ago. Right here, you've got a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut, so that's good. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start on this side next. You can see right here, you've got two 15 amp AC outlets. And then you've got this hardwire terminal. It says in the manual that it was good for an item that's a high draw, something 1500 watts to 2000 watts. You would go ahead and hardwire it in here, but it said to make sure that you ground it right in there where my finger is pointing. But I do like this little cover that's on here. It looks a lot more sturdy than some of the clear ones that I see that looks a little bit flimsy. And I like how that the wires would come out the side. You know, I just think that's a cleaner look, and man, that's a lot more stout to me. If I was going to hardwire it, I think that would be the type of terminal cap that I would want over top of it. So right here you've got a power button. It's just a push button, and then right there is a green LED light, and then there is a red protect light. And then right here, this is for your cable to plug in for your remote, and it is a wired remote. Right here there is a USB port, and then right here if you want to ground the unit, it comes with this little grounding nut that unscrews right here, and then there is a grounding wire right here that has the little ring terminals on it that you would slide on there and then put the nut on, so it makes it easy. And I gotta say, the grounding terminal right there, it looks really nice. It's nicer than some of the ones that I've seen. It's made out of brass, it's knurled right there, and it just looks a little more heavy duty than some of the grounds that I've seen on some of the other inverters. Alright, now another thing I just wanted to show you, that it comes with this remote here, and where it plugs in is right here on the back, and it uses this RJ10 cable, and there's 15 feet. And you would plug it in directly into the back. So the reason I'm telling you that is some of you like surface mounting these remotes and stuff like that. So if you are gonna try to surface mount it, then you'll have to make sure you cut out a hole for your wire there. And then also it comes with 8 of these little shockproof pads, and what these do is they just fit on the little leg right there on the inverter. So when you go to mount it, you can run your screw right down through there, and it helps, you know, provide a little soft surface to help take some of that vibration out of the mounting surface. So let's say you're mounting this in an RV or something, and you always get that constant, you know, bumping and stuff like that. This would help out with that. I really do like these things. They work really great. All right, and next it comes with just your user manual, and I gotta say I flipped through it and highlighted some stuff in it, and it seemed like it was a pretty decent manual. Then it comes with your positive and your negative, but these are 16 millimeter cables, so that equates out to a 6 gauge. It says, let's see, PVC jacket, and it's rated to 105 degrees Celsius, which I believe is 221 degrees Fahrenheit. And I gotta say, they're pretty flexible cables, and you know, they seem pretty decent quality. One thing I noticed is the ring terminal on this one is just freaking huge. I mean, that's way bigger than an M8, and the one on this side is sized correctly because this is an M6, so this should fit on this terminal perfectly. So I went ahead and hooked up the negative cable down below, and I'm going to go ahead and hook up the positive. And so what you want to do is just put the flat side here facing towards that terminal, and then next you want to put on your flat washer, and then you go back and you put your split washer or lock washer, whatever you want to call it, and then you put your nut on, and then it takes a 10mm wrench to tighten it up. And don't go crazy on these. I mean, it's just a little bitty stud. You ain't gotta, torque it down to 100 foot-pounds or nothing. Just, once it's tight, stop. Don't go any further. And I gotta say, I always, test these out for you guys whenever I'm doing a review, whether I show it or don't show it. When I go to put these, wires on, and I go to torque it down with the wrench a little bit. Some of the inverters I've tested, the terminals will be, they'll have some slop in them, and they'll just be moving around. These were really stout, and anyways, that's pretty important. That's where all your power's moving through from the battery to the inverter. So you definitely want to make sure you've got a good set of terminals, and these seem very good on this inverter. So providing power for this test today, we're going to be using the LiPool's 200 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. Man, I can't talk. I just went dumb for a minute. I had a Joe Biden moment or something. But anyways, we're going to be using this battery for testing. But before we go ahead and do our final hookup, I just wanted to go ahead and show you can take these little 30 ohm resistors. And what you want to do is just connect it with your finger, just touch it to your wire, and then you take the other end and touch it to the battery. And what this does is it basically prevents there from being a spark whenever you go to just normally connect it. There would normally be a spark, but when you use that resistor, you're pre-charging those capacitors, and so it won't spark. And then now you're able to go ahead and make your connection to the battery. And you can see that there was no spark. Now, remember earlier when I told you guys that reading terminal was just too big, and it's going to have a lot of slop in it. So yeah, that's one thing I would change if I was VOLTWORKS, is I would go ahead and size this reading terminal or lug, whatever you want to call it, to fit an M8. Bolt, because that's what's on most of your lithium batteries, is the M8 bolts. This is just way too big, but I guess it'll work. We'll go ahead and tighten it down. So one thing you'll notice with this VOLTWORKS inverter is there is no display on the top or the end, and for me, I think that's a good thing, just simply because half the time they're wrong. More than half the time, about 99% of the time they're wrong, and so I like that. And it shows here in the manual that that it's a very low, no load current or standby current, whatever you want to call it. It says here in the manual that it's 0.6 amp, and I tested it with a clamp meter here, and it was 0.06 amps all the way up to 0.13 amps. So that's right at 3/4 of a watt all the way up to 1.56 watts. So, it's really low power draw, and, I almost didn't believe it, because most of the inverters usually range about 10 watts, somewhere in there is usually standard, but this one is pretty low draw, so I do like that. Now, if you look here at the watt meter, it shows that it's at 120 volts, and that's what it should be, and then it's at 60 hertz, so that's exactly what it should be. All right, now one thing that I noticed that I'm not too crazy about, when I went to plug this in, you can see that it's a plug that's got the 90-degree, so it points down towards the bottom of the inverter, and there's no way you could mount this thing and then use a 90-degree plug. And that might not be important to some of you, but when I use an inverter, like a 2,000 watt inverter, a lot of times I'll be running 12,000 BTU inverter style air conditioner, and the plugs that goes on there is a 90-degree plug. So VOLTWORKS, if you're watching, If there was one thing that I'd like to see you do, and that would be to raise this AC outlet up some, where you can accommodate these larger plugs that are at 90 degree. Now if it's a straight plug, there's no problem, but whenever you're 90 degrees, it just goes out the bottom. So I had to find something to raise the inverter up, so that's why that's stuffed up underneath there, so it wouldn't damage this right here and mess that outlet up. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and test the sine wave. And you can see right there on the oscilloscope, nice clean sine wave. So it looks pretty good. Alright guys, so for the load test, you can see that I've got my little jumper box here, and I've got a watt meter plugged into it, and then you've got a space heater. This big space heater right here is plugged into this one on this side, and then I've got just a watt meter plugged directly into the inverter, and I've got a cable going over to this little bitty tiny space heater. And this one come from Walmart. I just got it a few weeks ago, and you can see right now that the bigger space heater, it says that it's using 1.7 watts, and that's probably for the little LED that's on right there. Now this one here, it's using 0 watts because there's no LED until you flip it on, and then it lights up. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and turn the Big Daddy on first, and watch right here. You can see 300, 400, 500, 700, 800, 900, 1000, 1200, 1300, 14, 15, 1576, 1630, 1650. Yeah, right about 1650 is what that heater surged up to. And you can see right there it's starting to stabilize and start dropping down. Now we're at 1470. And again, we're trying to get to the 2000 watt mark, which is what this inverter is rated at. And then so now that it's stabled out at 1455, we're going to go ahead and turn this little heater on and see what this gets up to. You can see 180, 200, 243, 278, 294, 331, 390, 415, 459, 478, 510, 519, 528. So it looked like 528 was the highest that this one surged to, and so now it's going to start dropping down, and we're going to continue running. It's pretty close to the 2000 watt mark. So right now we're at about 1750, 55 watts with the two little heaters. So we're going to have to find something that's going to bump that up just a little bit more, and we'll come back to you once we find out something that's closer to put us closer to that 2000 watt mark. Alright, so for the next load test, we're going to be running the space heater, and now we have switched to the hair dryer. That other little heater just didn't put out enough as I thought it would. But anyways, we just turned the space heater back on, and it's still stabilizing out. So I'll give it just a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and kick the hair dryer up just a little bit. Now, the first setting is just the fan, so it don't even get hot, and then the next setting up is a low, and so it'll start getting hot on low. So we'll start it on fan. But it said a while ago, whenever the space heater surged, it got up to 1667 watts, and that's one thing I like about these little watt meters, is it tells you the surge wattage, and you can reset it. And of course I'd reset it before I plugged it in, but yeah, it shows 1667 was the highest surge. And then on this one here, it shows that the highest that it surged was 528.1 watts. So this one's at 0 watts because I haven't turned it on yet, and this one's stabilized out by now surely, and you can see it's at 1439 watts, 1438, 1439. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn the little hair dryer on low, just on the fan, and it's putting out 167.5 watts. And that's nowhere near the 2,000 watt mark that we need. I just heard the fans kick on for the first time. They finally turned on. So that's a good sign. So right now we're at 167 and 14. Not quite 2,000 watts yet. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it up on low and see what kind of wattage we can get out. There we go. So there's 469 and 1435 on this space heater. So 468 and 1434. What is the math on that? I'm asking my girlfriend. She's behind the camera with a calculator here. We're at 1907 watts. So we need something to add a little bit more. I know a box fan uses about 75 watts of power. Let's put a box fan on here, and that should put us right at the 2,000 watt mark. Alright, so you got the box fan in the floor, we got the space heater up here, and we got the hair dryer, and that equals out to about 1982 watts. Guys, that's as close as I could get to the 2,000 watt mark. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and lay this stuff in the floor where it won't be so loud. Cables are getting pretty hot. I haven't charged the thermal camera yet, so I've got it plugged in. So right here at the front of the inverter, it's about 86 degrees. About middle ways of the inverter, it's 95 degrees. On the back of the inverter, it's right at about 96 degrees. And then I'm going to check the terminals. It shows that the terminal's 141 degrees. And that wire down there close to the terminal is 141 degrees. And guys, we're just a few watts away from 2,000 watts, but as you can see, you know, I'm at 148 degrees on the wires in the terminals right there. So there's one thing that I can not stress enough, that is replace the wires. And even up here, it shows that they're 125 degrees right there. And it shows 136, 137 up here. So, yeah, guys, that's pretty crazy. Now they're at 151 degrees down there at the terminal. And as far as the inverter, right here towards the back of the inverter, it's showing it's about 100, 101. And then here on the front of the inverter, about 84 to 84.5 degrees. So, yeah, it's running right as close to that 2,000 watt mark as I can get it. And everything seems to be doing fine. Except, you guessed it, the wires. You know, they're just always, you know, undersized. Yeah, these are really hot. It says they're about 131 degrees right here. So I just wanted to show you. Just wanted to show you that I'm still running the hair dryer in the floor. And it's at 1420 watts. I have the fan plugged in here on the bottom, and that's 75 watts. And then I have the hair dryer. It's at 1468. And that's a total of 1963. So that's pretty close. And I gotta say the inverter it's getting hot, guys. About 101 degrees right there in the middle. I got 152 degrees back there at the terminals and the wires. So that's pretty crazy. Got 141 degrees at the wires again. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down. And, you know, we've proved that it can get right there at that 2,000 watt mark. But I could say that the case right now is climbing in temperature. Right here on the sides, it's a lot hotter on the sides. It's showing 133 degrees right there on the side where the heat sink is. Oh, and it is, man, I can tell. Woo! Especially right here in the back. Shows 138 degrees on the side of the case right here where the ridges are for the heat sink. Pretty hot. Now again, the top of the case is 100 degrees, but right there on the sides, it's at 140 right now. And the wire is at 139.6. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all this stuff off where you can hear me, and I'll give you my final thoughts on it. Alright guys, so I just wanted to give you an idea of the fans. They're still running. I've got everything turned off, but it's trying to cool the unit down. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what this thing sounds like. It's not the loudest fans that I've ever heard, but you know, you can definitely hear them, and man, they're running full blast because this thing it's still hot. I mean, it is still, the side of the case is at 128 degrees, and the top of the case right there is at 93. So guys, every test that I do on these inverters, it seems like the wires are, you know, what's the problem? I swear, just upgrade the wires to some heavier gauge wire, and you'll be fine. So it says in the manual that once the inverter reaches 104 degrees, that's when the fans will kick on. So, you know, that lets you know right there that it's still above 104 degrees in that case, or then fans wouldn't be on. But anyways, we got as close as we could to the 2,000 watt mark, and I gotta say the inverter still ran. It didn't cut out or anything. And you know, again, I would love to see, you know, just how cool. The fans finally cut off. But I would love to see this inverter run with some different cables and see how it affects it. I want to do some testing here in the upcoming videos and show you the difference between, you know, running these little Chinese cables on here and running, you know, some better cables. You know, I always recommend the New Concepts. You know, I'll link that down below if you want to check those cables out there. It's just one of the better cables that I found, and plus they're very flexible. They got a PVC jacket on them, just like these wires here. These are real flexible as well. But you can see that these wires did not hold up. So VOLTWORKS, if you're watching, you need to upgrade the cables. These are way too small and they're getting way too hot. You'll end up burning somebody's damn house down. So upgrade the cables before you send any more inverters out. So I wanted to go ahead and test the USB port on the back of the inverter there. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in, and you can see that it's powering two of these USB lights, and I pretty much just have it connected to a splitter. if you're interested in these lights, I always recommend them in my videos just because they only use 5 watts of power each. They're from a company called VT Power. I'll put a link for them down in the description. I know on Amazon you can get like 4 lights and 2 of the splitters where you can plug up 2 lights into 1 USB outlet. And they give you 2 of the splitters, 4 lights, and I think it's like $25, $28 somewhere in there. It's not bad. And these things got little hooks on them, so you know, if you want to take them camping or something and hang them up, or if you want to use them as just in a power outage or something like that, these things are awesome. They don't use very much power, and you know, the inverter doesn't even have to be on. This is just power coming from the battery through the inverter without it even, the inverter's not even turned on. And you can see that it provides the power to the USB, so you can run these, and it won't use any more than 5 watts per bulb. So I almost forgot. Wanted to show you guys the remote, and just I want to test it and make sure that it works. I'm gonna go ahead and plug it in, and then plug it into the back here, and then you can see right there, it's all lit up. It says right here that it's got power. Then there's a red LED that says the fault, and then you've got your battery indicator over here. But anyways, let's go ahead and turn it off, and it seems to work as it should. Let's turn it back on. So there you go, the remote works. And now I'm gonna go ahead and measure it and get you guys some measurements, because half the time when you look on Amazon, the measurements aren't right sometimes. All right, so as far as the length on the inverter, I'm gonna be measuring from the very edge of the terminals there all the way to the hardwire terminal that sticks out. It's 15 1/4 inches long, 8 1/8 wide, and it's 3 7/8 of an inch tall. Now, one thing that I'd like to maybe see them do in the future is, you know, some of these inverters have like a little drop down surface area that's about probably a good 1/2 inch to 1 inch that, you know, makes it stick up off of the mounting surface, and maybe that would also help keep this inverter nice and cool. I know on that Tyco run, and I know on reliable inverters, they all, you know, have that leg where, you know, it gives you more airflow up underneath here. So, you know, you got that little mounting leg that keeps it up off the mountain surface. So I believe if they was to do that and maybe put the some upgraded wires on there, I believe that this thing would be fine. I do like the inverter. It seems very well made, and it uses very little power, so that is good. I think it's a really quality inverter. And so anyways, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope this video was informative to you. If you're interested in this VOLTWORKS power inverter, the 2000 watt, make sure you check down below. And again, this is the 12 volt. And anyways, check down below. I've got a link for it in the description. Check down below for like the thermal camera, the watt meters, the resistors that I have, and the oscilloscope. Every bit of the stuff that I use in the video is in the description down below. So if you see something that I'm using and you want to use it, even the clamp meter and all that, it's all linked in the description down below. I am an Amazon affiliate, and you know, truthfully, I don't make much off this, so I don't care if you guys buy it from me or buy it from somebody else or whatever. But you know, I appreciate if you do. It does help my channel out a little bit, and truthfully, I wouldn't be recommending these products to you if they were junk. You know, obviously you see me week in, week out testing inverters and batteries and things like that. So obviously, you know, it's good products that I'm using to test it out. And anyways, appreciate you guys watching. Till next time, see ya.